Morning guys, Mitch here. I just wanted to do a quick video talking about some photos that are floating around of the S-Works or Specialized Tarmac SL8 that everyone's kind of talking about lately. And a couple things I just wanted to point out or give you my opinion on. I know that it's kind of unprovoked, but you know what? It is what it is. So let's throw up some of these photos that have been going around this week and kind of talk about it. So one, I will say this, the SL8 has had speculation for probably the last 12 months as having an Athos rear end, a Venge head tube, and kind of a mix of the SL6 and SL7 for the main kind of center of the frame. You know, this maroon photo popped up earlier this week, and everyone thought it was photoshopped, but I was kind of looking at it going, you know, I've seen some dealer photos of other brands in the past, and they're not usually really great photos. They are typically computer renderings that aren't the best, but it gives you a pretty good idea of kind of what's to come. So I didn't quite write it off completely, but at the same time, you just kind of wonder what the heck's going on with this drawing, because it definitely has a punched out head tube, an Athos rear end, and kind of an SL7 cockpit with that flat top tube, which is kind of what I had heard all along about this bike. Now, fast forward to yesterday, a photo was released at the Tour de France, I believe, and there was some speculation that this one was, or could be, a Roubaix. I know I like to say Roubaix, but it Specialized Roubaix, so their endurance bike. And my first thought was, well, you can kind of see something going on with the stem here. And to me, that might be a Future Shock thing, or it could just be, you know, us being trolled by Specialized. And just them throwing a couple extra spacers on top, making it blurry, whatever. These photos tend to not be released unless they want to be released. There's a number of these bikes in the photo, and I imagine that there's a master plan in place here. There always is, and it's not hard for these big brands to release these exactly when they want to, but the primary thing still is in place here, with the rear end being an Athos, the front end being that larger head tube which matches the earlier photo. And I also just want to say, look, remember we had a big problem, the recall on the Tarmac SL7 on that head tube with the cable routing? Well, who's to say that because this head tube isn't so much a Venge head tube, maybe they're just going, hey, we want to give riders a little bit more tolerance in that head tube area, because it's been traditionally a problem for us. And we don't want another recall, and let's give more room. Let's maybe make the cable routing a little bit easier, and in doing so, we punch the head tube out, and you know, maybe that adds a little bit of weight. Maybe it adds a little bit of aerodynamic characteristic that there's going to be a claimed 3 to 5 watts or 3 to 6 watts saving at 20 miles an hour, I imagine. Something very realistic. But at the same time, let's take back the weight that the SL7 has kind of known for. You know, there's a guy, Durian Rider, who's always hated on this bike for its weight. It's the heaviest S-Works frame ever made. Well, you're probably clawing back, I'm assuming, you know, a quarter pound or, you know, 80, 90 grams in that rear end alone, just by going the Athos route in that finish. I'm assuming that's what they did. And it wouldn't shock me if they come out and say, oh, it saved weight, it's just as stiff, because the stiffness is driven by the bottom bracket up. So, you know, you're probably going to be looking at a compliant bike, you're probably going to be looking at improved cable routing, and you're probably going to be looking at aerodynamics that are on par or a little bit better than current Tarmac SL7. Just my opinion. Wanted to release this video with zero thought or input, just me blabbing. So hopefully we get more news probably today or before the weekend as more images of this bike come up. But I wanted to get started on that this morning. Alright guys, have yourselves a good day. Cheers.